Good evening, my local drones. This is Bio Gundam here, and I'm back again for another video. So today, we're going to be doing another episode of Biomechanical Podcast. So today's episode will be a critical overview of Boku no Hero Season 1 and Season 2. And here to help me is my good buddy Kaiser Shounen. Kaiser Shounen, introduce yourself.
Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy Kaiser Shounen. You know what? I'm pretty much a new guy here. I'm not even going to say it's your boy because I don't have my own YouTube channel, unfortunately.
In case you need to know, he's the random black guy who showed up on one of my live streams, face cammed himself.
I didn't even see that was accidental, man. You can't even hold that against me like that.
I know, but you doxed yourself on my channel. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. But, jokes aside, I'm really excited for doing this because, I got Boku no Hero on the brain, and not in the way that most people would understand, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think a lot of people understand what you mean. I mean, I think the funny thing is that barely anyone's going to watch this podcast, but I just finished watching the last two seasons of Boku no Hero, and there's a lot I want to say about it. And I would like to say, for the record, that it did not skillfully subvert my expectations, nor did it give me the feels. So I'm very disappointed.
But is it unlike anything you've seen before?
I don't know. I've seen better Battle Shonen before, and I've seen a ton of superhero movies and comic books.
Oh, this is as you people, you fine ladies and gentlemen, can tell. This is going to be a fun ride for those who really, really, really like the show. But
you could say that but Kaiser, you could say that we're skillfully subverting their expectations.
Oh my God.
That meme is never going to die, man.
Yeah, get used to that, folks. That's going to be happening a lot.
Okay, so I guess we'll just talk about the setting before we get into the episode and the episodes and shit. So Boku no Hero takes place in a world where, people start getting powers, which they call quirks. And over the years and the generations, essentially 80% of the population now have a quirk. And because now 80% of the population has superpowers, let's start this new business called being a hero. And introducing our main character, Deku, a spastic quirkless protagonist who has no quirk and cannot be a hero of justice because he has no quirks, and you can't be a hero without a quirk. Well, actually, you can. It's just, society.
That would probably take, time, energy, training, money, all those other things, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, stuff that he doesn't have. But one day, by some coincidence, he comes across his hero All Might, who bestows him his quirk, one for all. And now our quirkless protagonist now has one quirk. And it's
not just a quirk, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the most OP quirk in the entire show.
His superpower is superpower.
How fucking clever is that, right? The superpower is so powerful, it does not need a convoluted description or power in of itself. It's just superpower.
Yeah, it makes him hit hard, go fast, jump high, take hits.
Unlike anything else we've ever seen before.
Yeah, my ability is punch hard really good.
So good that it creates a typhoon, apparently.
Okay, enough against the joking. Let's go get into the episode. So, Episode 1 was sort of introduced to the backstory of how, there was this child who could glow into the dark, and then eventually after that, people started getting quirks and stuff. We get introduced to main character Deku, who's watching his hero All Might save people, and he's very inspired. And he finds out that he is quirkless because of a mutation in his feet or something like that.
It's probably I think it was like a missing joint in his toe or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't have that, so he wouldn't have a quirk. And we also see the scene of him being teased or beaten up by his friend Bakugo, who I'm just going to call Explosion Man for now.
Oh, sure.
During the episode, then we skip to modern day. He's walking to school. A villain happens to be causing some chaos. I actually really like the scene because it sort of shows like the every day-to-day events. Like it shows some pro heroes in action, and it shows some of the villains, and it also showcases that, you know, basically anyone who isn't a hero or a villain is basically just boring and bland because they're not doing anything.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
They probably all have like 90% of that, or like probably most of the people in that crowd have superpowers, and they could actually do something, but they don't. And the funny thing,
I think it probably depends on how powerful or versatile their quirks are. Not to mention, you know, being a hero is kind of serious, dangerous business. You know, going after it like that might not be the best decision for most people. So I can understand why even those who have quirks, like if they have like low level quirks, like I have long fingers or some shit, wouldn't step in to do something like that.
Yeah, that is true. And we also see like I like the scene of the pro heroes, and also sort of becomes a problem as like while the pro heroes are fighting, it's almost like during the scene they're trying to get attention. Like for example, Mount Lady showing off her assets after she subdued the criminal.
Oh yeah, she is doing a very respectable ladylike pose for the crowd, you know.
Hey man, you've got to show off those goods. Anyway, so after that happens, Deku goes into class. He gets teased by his friends some more because he wants to enroll in the super elite superhero academy.
Which begs the question, how the fuck was he planning on entering it if he didn't have a power? Now, granted, some people might have thought, you know, first watching it, oh, he's probably like he probably works out a lot, or practices martial arts, or built some gadgets or any other bullshit. But no, he basically just wallows in his room with his All Might collection and just writing down a bunch of analytical shit, which is supposed to prove that he is super smart, and yet he doesn't do the most basic shit in order to improve himself.
Yeah, that's sort of one problem. Like a lot of just talking about like Deku's character, like a lot of people say that, oh, because he's smart means he's deep. No, being smart means he's intelligent, like he can think. But
exactly.
That doesn't exactly mean character depth. Like anyone in an anime can say, I'm smart, I'm strong guy, I am very charismatic guy. Like that's just a character trait. That's a trait.
Oh yeah, that is a character trait. And keep in mind, people, most of the characters here aren't going to be as multifaceted as most people might think, as we will prove very soon.
Oh yes, we're gonna be having fun of that. So basically more bullying, showcasing that he's basically just kind of a wuss. As he's going back home, he is attacked by a sludge villain.
I'm not insert obvious hentai joke here.
Yeah, exactly. And as he's getting attacked by this sludge villain, you know, who comes and helps him? His hero, All Might Texas Smash! And he blows the villain away.
Okay, one thing that we kind of neglected to mention is that despite our misgivings about the show in general, the animation is top notch. You know, this is done by Bones.
Yes,
you know, one of the top animation studios and shit. So at the very least, even though the show itself is pretty subpar, mediocre, it doesn't look, or at least move, like it's subpar, mediocre most of the time.
Yeah, I will say that the animation is pretty good, and I would have to give it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, just for like fluency of animation and the styling. Like I like it when it has like the dark shading and things look intense. Like I think Boku no Hero does a very good job at sort of capturing that sort of like cartoonish, you know, comic book aesthetic really well, and it really suits its purpose. And basically, after the main character gets saved by the sludge monster, sort of All Might sort of asks him, it's sort of like, why were you charging in like that? You know, you have no quirk and stuff, and, you know, just sort of like chewing him out. And Kaiser Shounen, do you want to do like the introduction for episode 2? So,
okay, so episode 2, right? It begins with Deku and All Might talking on the roof, and All Might basically saying that, dude, I don't think you're right to be a hero, because if you do, you're going to fucking die. And I mean, granted, I understand that All Might is trying to do this in a way that'll allow him to live longer, but I don't think the way he says it accurately represents the issue. Like, if he's going to, if like the way he says this, and keep in mind, this is the greatest hero on earth that just so happens to fall on his doorstep, and he's basically telling him that he can't have his dream. You could have told him that there are several alternatives for doing all this type of shit, but no, he just says he can't do it. And then after that, we have a weird reaction joke where the motherfucker is Skeletor, apparently.
Yeah, just talking about like the discussion thing, I think his heart was in the right place, but I don't think it correlated well because, like, yeah, being a hero is dangerous, but I think like comic books like Batman and Robin and series like that, they prove you don't really need superpowers to fight villains. It's just, you know, Deku can't fight some of the really powerful ones. Like what All Might should have said is like, kid, I know you want to be a hero and stuff, but this is really dangerous, and I think that you're not prepared for what you have to fight. I mean,
yeah, and I understand. It's even more proven within the show because sooner we're going to see like a few or other characters whose powers that aren't necessarily physical enhancing powers that know martial arts and stuff and can beat down at least low level grunts, you know?
Yeah.
So if they are able to do that, why can't Deku?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, All Might just said to him, like, kid, your heart is in the right place, but I just don't think you are prepared to take on the responsibility. Like, yeah, sure. Like, sure, Deku may be quick of action, he may be altruistic, you know, and those are decent qualities of a hero, but if you can't back it up, then what point is there? He's just going to be a detriment. Like, he's going to be like the hero. He's going to be a person that needs to be saved. It's kind of like Bleach or something, you know, he goes up and saves someone, and then a villain comes up behind him, and he has to get saved because he has to get saved from the villain that was ambushing him that he was trying to save.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, the reason why All Might suddenly turns from the Grim Reaper from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is because that apparently sometime before this the series starts, he gets an injury from his ultimate nemesis right in the freaking stomach, which is brutal. And because of that, he can't really stay in his muscular form for very long.
That's a scene I sort of really like because it sort of shows the consequence of being a hero, you know, the tolls it can take on your body. And it kind of shows that at the end of the day, like, being a hero isn't all fun and games. I mean, you could get hurt or die. And that's a scene I really like because it just hammers in the consequence. Like, All Might, he could have died, but he didn't. But he was close to death, and it's killing him.
Yeah, exactly. Which gives at least some form of vulnerability to this God among men, this hero of all heroes in this world, which is going to be a constant thing throughout the show, you know, bringing this God among men down to one of us lowly mortals who can sit by and at the very least help out the next generation carry out his work, which is actually pretty okay in my book.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of this kind of like hero or Jesus figure who's just kind of he's getting weaker and with the times, and it's sort of time for him to sort of hang up his cape and pass on the torch. And speaking of passing on the torch, should we talk about All for One?
Let's talk about that in the second season because that's literally what they talk about in the first or second episode of that anyway. So we may as well just leave that out.
Yeah, good point. We'll talk about that in season 2 because keep continuing what happens.
Yeah. So anyway, after that, one detail we forgot to mention in the last episode. After All Might pretty much punched that blob villain or whatever, he somehow managed to put him inside of a soda bottle. Of course, because Deku was hanging on to him while he was jumping in the air and leaving, which led them to the roof, he kind of dropped the soda bottle carrying the villain, and he didn't notice until after their conversation was over. World's greatest hero, ladies and gentlemen. And so, the villain who is our freaking hentai waiting to happen villain attack next?
Explosion Man.
The bully? Yeah, the bully, the freaking main rival of the show. Because why the fuck not, right?
Yeah, I think that scene is so funny. He's like, Deku, get away! I can do it myself, and he's trying to trying to get his hands. Who's trying to eat him,
Yeah.
and Deku's trying to save him, and he's like chucking a bag at him and chucking stuff at him to try and like have the sludge dude break his concentration so to let go. And he's saying, "Hey, Deku, I can do this yourself." And I'm saying, like, you asshole, you're trapped. Your powers are useless against the sludge monster.
Which is kind of weird because as we'll see later on in the show, Bakugo can create some pretty big ass explosions.
Did someone say explosions?
Obvious Konosuba meme is obvious, yes. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah, like as big of explosions and shit that he can create. How come he didn't have at least a little bit of an easier time getting that villain dude off of him? Like that's just kind of weird to me. Also, another problem: the scene where Deku kind of runs after Bakugo while he's being attacked and everything. Number one, why aren't the other heroes helping? Like, I know they're trying to like deal with the collateral damage and get the civilians out, but why can't two of them do that while the other two try to do something about the villain, especially Mountain Lady, who can literally shrink herself, and yet she is trying to be in her giant form and trying to squeeze within this small section, like this small like shopping section of the city.
That's actually a scene I never really got, because it's like, oh, he's got a powerful quirk and stuff, and that's why they did, because like Bakugo is like activating his explosion power and shit while trying to get away from the sludge monster. But the thing is that they should have been there, like on the scene. Like they just
exactly, But anyway, this leads to another problem in the episode is when Deku saved, at least tried to save Bakugo, and especially All Might's reaction to it. But we'll get to that in a minute. I'm not saying that Deku shouldn't have at least tried to save Bakugo, because that'd be completely dickish and would go against the foundations of his character. He wants to help people, he wants to look after people, and even to people who have been mean to him. But I think what would have been better to like help us sympathize more with his character is if he showed a little bit of hesitation doing though. Because keep in mind, this is the kid who has been basically bullying him for most of his life, like ever since he was in freaking kindergarten, and he didn't think twice about saving him. And that's just kind of weird to me. Like,
yeah, same here. He doesn't feel like human, because like most people, they think with their emotions and then comes the logic. Like, I think I would have liked to see like a tiny bit of hesitation and a little bit of fear from him. Like, just for a split second, he's like, oh wait, why am I trying to save this guy? This kid, this is the person who's made my life hell on earth ever since I was like 4, and I could die, and there's explosions, there's sludge and explosions going everywhere, and the other hero and the pro heroes are kind of pussying out. So like I would like to sort of see like a split second, because like Deku kind of feels like he's like a machine, or he's like this it's almost like they try and portray like Deku as like this saint or pariah. He's so selfless, and he's so selfless.
Yeah, he's not only the most selfless out of the rest of the cast, but apparently he also has the strongest quirk, or he will get the strongest quirk, and he's also the smartest among the main cast. So apparently they just need him as this freaking OP Jesus figure, because why not?
He's such an underdog, isn't he? He's got the strongest quirk. He's also so selfless that not even fear could stop him. He doesn't care. He's just going to keep charging ahead keep charging ahein. So let's continue.
Right. The next part of the episode is when All Might comes in, why All Might didn't go and try to save him earlier is beyond me. Like, I get that the point is that, he's inspired by Deku's altruistic attitude and like his willingness to do good despite not exactly having a plan, because that goes into what we were talking about earlier, is that Deku is basically putting himself and potentially other people in danger because of his recklessness, and he's getting inspired by that, which is kind of weird, but I can understand the sentiment.
Actually, Kaiser, the thing I want to say is that I will say for Deku's character, he does show like quickness of action. So I would say that's a benefit, but I think he doesn't think it out so much. It's more like, I'm going to do something and I'll just wing the rest of the way. Like, I think decisive of action is great, but if you don't have a plan or like an exit strategy, it's not gonna end well.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Like, why didn't All Might just go in before Deku before Deku came strutting in is kind of beyond me. Or hell, he could have been here's how the scene probably should have happened. There should have been like a moment of hesitation, and he's trying to really think about, oh man, why should I save this asshole? He's been doing a bunch of shit to me. He's been talking shit. He wrecked my notebooks that literally hold all my hopes and dreams in front of me. And then All Might immediately tries to save him. And then Izuku gets inspired by him because All Might doesn't care who that person is or what he might have done. He is a hero and would do something regardless. That would have been a much better growth moment for him. And it would have made sense for All Might because he's a fucking hero who should know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, he's like the number one pro hero. He's dealt with worse. Like a sludge monster and a kid who can explode stuff isn't really going to phase him.
Exactly. Anyways, yeah, but we may as well just move on. After that whole debacle, and after I guess Bakugo pulls a small tsundere moment. Ha 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 ha.
I don't need your help, Baka.
Fuck me. Anyways, All Might and Deku, there's this really sob moment, which is admittedly accompanied by a good use of cell shading animation and this sort of stop motionist type of deal where All Might says that Deku, you can become a hero, despite doing reckless actions that could potentially put people in danger, but whatever. And the episode just ends there. Honestly, mostly the episode isn't all that bad. I'm just saying that there are a couple things that could have helped humanize the characters a little bit more in general, where, the greatest hero who ever lived just so happened to encounter me. And look, my bully who's been terrorizing me my whole life, he just so happens to be attacked by that very same villain, and I'm being praised by the hero for doing something stupid. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, like, isn't it like the first two episodes, I'd say as like an introduction, it does an okay job, but like you said, I think it should have humanized its cast more because, like, Deku just doesn't really feel human to me. I mean, you can be altruistic and I'll allow it, but I want a reason for it. Like, there has to be some sort of reason for it, which we will dive into later. So so I guess episode 3, basically All Might tells Deku a little bit about his quirk called One for All and how it's an ability that he can pass on to others. And he basically says to Deku, okay, since you showed your altruistic and etc. and qualities of being a hero, I'm going to pass on my quirk to you, and you're going to become my successor. But until then, you have to do some training. So essentially, what Deku does, he does some training so he can handle the quirk. Because apparently, one of the downsides of this quirk is that you have to be physically active and fit to even contain its raw power of One for All.
Yeah, apparently, if he gained this power and didn't work out at all, he would literally split in half as if he's in fucking Elfin League or something like that.
So basically he trains for 10 months by cleaning this beach that's full of junk and stuff, and it's actually a scene I really like because it's him trying to work towards gaining or earning that power. And I like it's a nice little training arc. It sure showcases the struggle he goes through, his to achieve his dreams. It's going to be a struggle, at least for this part, until he gets for this part at least, And I like the scene of where he cleans the entire beach. He's screaming, and it's yes, I've achieved. And I really like that scene because it's a very primal reaction. It's yes, I've achieved the goal. I'm now one step closer to my dream. And then he eats, and then he takes a little bit of All Might's DNA, and then he starts the hero test. He goes to the Hero Academy.
Wait. Before we get to that part, one thing I need to say about Deku training here, and something that we should probably like go over and put to rest once and for all. When people say those might think that, oh, just because Deku had spent this small training arc, just trying to contain this power and everything, that doesn't mean he's overpowered or that he's gifted or anything like that. Yeah, but here's the thing, people. He's still given the most powerful quirk the most physically powerful quirk in the entire show. He's the only reason why he was working out in the first place. Instead of just sitting his ass doing nothing, is because he actually gotten an easy way out of doing all of that stuff. And it's like and even when as we're going to be able to see later that, oh, his powers come at a quote unquote cost. Number one, he gets healed after every single time, and it's almost never going to result in any consequences whatsoever. But also, it's also because that all the injuries and all the threat of being injured is going to go away because of power creep. Eventually he's going to find some way in order to control this power, and he's literally going to be even more overpowered than he already is. It's basically like Kaioken from DBZ.
Yeah, like the thing about the whole like consequence thing. I mean, if all your boo-boos can get like vanished away, then what's the point? Like, it's like it's similar to like Tokyo Ghoul or like characters that can heal or regenerate. It's like, oh, you lost your arm. In a couple of minutes, it's going to heal back and grow back, so there's no problem. Like, what's the point?
But Bio, Deku gets scars every time he uses the power. Yeah, well, scars heal.
I have scars as well. Does that mean I'm also deep? I've got scar symbolism.
I think the people who say that they find the scars as like a sign of growth are just people who secretly want to cut themselves.
Okay, got it. So yeah, okay. So basically, he goes to the hero college. I forgot the name, and I don't really care. He goes to the hero school. He gets basically told what the test is. He has to fight a bunch of robots and get points and stuff. And if he gets enough points, he can pass to being a hero, which is kind of contradictory to what being a hero is, because if heroes are supposed to be like altruistic and self-sacrificing and stuff, then why are they having a point system, which we will, I think Kaiser didn't really finish, I think which you'll dive further into when we talk about episode 5, so, episode 4. So, should we go to episode 4?
I think that's all there is to episode 3, so let's just get on to episode 4.
Yeah, get episode 4, start.
Okay, so the episode starts right before the entrance exam to UA, where the characters are basically put in this fake city section or whatever in order to fight a bunch of robots and shit, because of course they do. And trust me, keep this dumb fucking test at the back of your head, because that's going to be really important, not only in this season, but way later. So, pop it, lock in, put it in your pocket for later. All right. So right before that, he notices. Wait, no. We got a couple unfunny jokes featuring the characters for later. And then everybody just goes ham and starts breaking a bunch of robots, which is kind of triggering me because I'm a robot, and this might be a misrepresentation of my kind, but whatever.
I'm a biomechanical life form, and I feel bad for my fully mechanical kin.
Yeah, but anyways, while all this is happening, Deku isn't sure about how to be able to use this quirk to fight the robots and everything, which honestly, why All Might didn't teach him that right before doing it, I have no idea, but whatever. He eventually one thing we need to mention about how the test works is that apparently there are 4 kinds of robots. There's one robot that gives 1 point, another robot that gives 2 points, a 3 robot that gives 3 points, and then another one that doesn't give any points at all, which begs the question, what's the point of breaking those robots? But whatever. Anyways, so one of these Zero robots, which is as big as a freaking skyscraper or whatever, comes in, and right below it is Ochako, the main chick of the show, who we see at the beginning of the episode in another unfunny scene, who is basically, yeah, and one question, why the fuck didn't Uraraka use her powers to basically levitate and negate gravity in order to get herself out of that rubble? Because she ends up doing that later on in the show after Deku saves her. Oh yeah, Deku saves her. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can't have something like death in this show. It's only episode 4. I think the reason for that is that she gets tired. Like, I remember the scene where she's like levitating and she's like puking up rainbows or something like that. Probably another quirk. No, oh my god, she has 2 quirks.
No, I meant, like, I understand that she gets tired after using her quirk, but at that point, I don't think she even used her quirk yet. And
no,
she ends up...
No, she did use her quirk. It was after she'd used her quirk a lot, because she had saved Deku because he was falling as well.
No, I meant before that, when she would, right before Deku saved her. Because she was on the ground near some rubble when the Zero robot was coming, remember?
Oh yeah.
And she literally was just laying there, not doing anything. Like, what the hell is up with that? Oh,
I have no idea. Maybe she panicked. I don't know.
This is supposed to be a strong, independent female character in the shonen anime.
No, Kaiser, she's a strong, independent woman.
Oh yeah, excuse me. She's not just a woman. She is a whammon. The extra wham adds to the fact that she's just so strong and independent, which is why she lays down and does nothing until a man comes to save her.
She's so independent. She's such an independent woman that she has to have a man save her.
Yeah. Anyway, after Deku saves her, because of course he does, his bones basically break so that he won't really be able to take the test anymore, and that was
the arm he used for like that attack looked like it got sunburnt.
Oh, it didn't. It pretty much looked like it just got sunburned like a real shitload. Like he literally stuffed that thing in a freaking microwave or something. It looks freaking brutal. Anyways, and we get the first instance of the whole, no consequences thing that we were talking about. Because, before he stops taking the test, the nurse, who basically has the power to heal people by kissing their injuries, comes in and almost completely heals him, but not fully, because that would apparently destroy his body more, but whatever. And
I think what her power is that she accelerates the natural human healing process. So I think she does it to a point of where his body can take over for the rest of it, because if she does it too much, she'll be like depleting his energy, and he'll be in even worse condition. And that's kind of like the thing. There's no consequence if his boo-boos can get like, if his, like, say for example I break my arm and then 2 minutes later my arm is healed. That was the consequence of that. It's like Crazy Diamond. It's like, oh no, my arm is broken. Josuke, heal me. It's like, oh sweet, my arm's gone.
Yeah, but at least with Crazy Diamond from JoJo, there's some, number one, his healing powers are actually creative, and number 2, there is an active limit to what he can actually do. He can't bring people back from the dead or anything. But, aside from that, and another thing that proves that this show barely has any consequences is the fact that despite Deku not getting points, apparently he earned secret points for saving Uraraka from the rubble and the robot. Which, yay! Now Deku can be a member of UA.
Which is also contradictory for being a hero, because being a hero is being altruistic and stuff like that. I mean, when is smashing up robots part of being a hero if you can't even save anyone? Like, the whole point system is just kind of BS.
Yeah, and they don't even tell them that they can, like, save each other and earn points through saving each other and shit. Like,
I think they don't tell them that because they're basically like, there's the idea of when people are in danger, they show their true selves. So I think the idea that they're thinking of is that anyone who's like altruistic, who didn't know that was going to happen, is going to get bonus points because they didn't know that. And I guess by default, they'll figure out, okay, this guy, he's got the qualities of a true hero, and he doesn't seem like he's in it for the points or the fame or do you smash up robots because it's fun.
Yeah, I guess. But then again, they kind of teach them that during the semester anyway, so there's barely any point in that, but whatever. And like another problem with that, here's the thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with the test going against the nature of heroism in general, because honestly, it's not just this media, kind of media in general kind of mischaracterizes what heroism is, because apparently true heroism is determined after the person's death, when we reflect on the things that they have done. But heroes are called heroes while they're alive. So, when you look at it in that sense, I think the nature of what a hero is kind of flimsy enough as it is. So I think it should be seen as a bit more flexible. But that doesn't justify why the fuck did Deku just basically pass the test with very little cost,
Yeah, like all he got was a broken arm. They got healed a couple of days later. No consequence at all.
Exactly.
It's not like he was attacked by a villain in those couple of days while he was vulnerable. Like that would have been consequence. It's just like, well, his arm is not like, looks like he's just stuck in a microwave, but his arm is still like fucked up. And if he gets attacked by a villain, he's got a disadvantage because now he's only got one arm. I mean, that would have been a consequence, but no, we can't have that. We can't have his dreams dashed by episode 4.
Oh, of course not. Oh, because here's the thing. We forgot to mention this, is that apparently, in the beginning, he said that he's going to become the world's #1 hero by the end of this story. And this is in this whole entire show is basically his come-up story.
Well, thanks for spoiling the ending, Deku.
Right. Like,
now any investment I have is now just gone if I know how the story is going to end. I mean, we all know how most of these stories end.
Right. It's like no matter what happens to the character, no matter what quote-unquote tense situation they're going to be in, if we know they're going to be okay, why should we give a damn? And it's not even just that. I can understand a story like this working because I get the idea that it's supposed to be the journey and not the destination, right? But that only applies if the journey is worth a damn. And Boku no Hero is one of the most basic bitch shonen alive. And you mean to tell me that basically spoiling the ending of how it's going to end it is going to be worth all of this? Hell no.
Yeah, like if you know how it's going to end, then why bother? Like for example, I've played like Persona 3, and I know how it ends, but how it ends is great. But like at the beginning of the series, they don't tell you how it's going to end. They don't say, "Oh, this is going to happen to your character, and this is going to happen to this character. This is going to happen to this one." No, they don't tell you. Whatever happens, happens. It's also like similar to like Dragon Age or those games where it's kind of like, choose your own adventure. The ending is not finite. Well, with Boku no Hero, they just say like, oh, he's going to become the world's greatest hero, end of story. Like, why should I care?
Exactly. One of the best anime that ever lived, Gurren Lagann, my absolute fave, because of course it is, had a somewhat spoilerlish beginning where it kind of foreshadows a blue-haired protagonist fighting in space. But number one, that beginning is all kinds of ambiguous, so we don't even know how that's going to happen and how we get to that point where Simone, like sacks up and takes center stage as the true main character of the story and carrying out Kamina's wishes and goals and aspirations and shit is actually interesting.
Who do you think I am?
Right. It's like, what the fuck do you think this is? Like the story is, the journey is actually worth the destination. This isn't, as we'll soon find out. So let's.
Oh yeah, we'll talk more about like the contradictions. So episode 5, he gets accepted into his hero school. He has a moment with his mother who wishes him good luck. He gets into class 1A, so he's like in the top class already, so clearly not underdog. He's in the top class. We get introduced to all the characters and their quirks, and then we have a training. They have like a training, like they have a gym session with their teacher, who is Eraserhead, who's apparently who is very harsh and very sort of Basically, they just teach they just have like a montage of what they can do with their quirks and stuff. And Deku, basically the consequence of this this episode will be that if whoever gets last place in the gym contest or whatever will be suspended or like kicked out of school, basically expelled. And Deku basically tries his best to succeed without using his quirk. And then during the last thing, which is the ball toss, he tries to use his quirk to throw it really high so he can get high points, so he will not be expelled. But his sensei or teacher, Eraserhead, oh yeah, that's right, we forgot to mention that Eraserhead's ability is that he can erase quirks of anyone he's looking at for a period of time. So basically, so Deku was about to use his ability. He was about to use all for what. No, it was one for all. Sorry, one for all. He's about to throw the ball. Eraserhead like erases his quirk, and he basically says like, "You can't control your power, can't you?" And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you a second chance, but if you can't control it, you're gonna get expelled." So basically, he uses his quirk again, and this time instead of screwing up his entire arm, he just screws up one of his fingers as he uses it, which I thought was a pretty nifty idea. It's just like, instead of like screwing up my arm, I'm going to use my fingers instead. So I'm putting more power into my throw, which I thought was an interesting idea. But apparently we find out at the end of the episode that the whole like expulsion was actually a troll, and that the teacher just wanted to motivate them.
Yeah, he's basically discount Kakashi, which isn't all that bad.
I actually quite like Eraserhead because he like says like, he doesn't he's still like a different type of hero compared to like All Might or some of the others. Like he doesn't really do it for fame. He does it. He's like a hero on the sidelines. It's just like,
I mean, granted, barely any of the heroes that we see do it for fame at all, to be honest, but whatever.
I mean, with him, he doesn't like the media. He doesn't like this attention. He just says like, I'm just doing my job. Leave me alone. You're disturbing me. Be quiet.
Yeah, he's just all business and, cut all the bullshit. And
okay.
He's a pretty good teacher, I guess.
Yes, so that's pretty much all about like episode 5, and I think we'll go up to episode 6 next.
Yeah. Episode 6. Oh, okay. So basically what happens here is the big encounter that a lot of people were waiting for. Freaking Bakugo versus Deku. Now, this is taking place during another test or session they're having during the gym. And by the way, this is a chance that we get to see all the characters in Class 1A's costumes and shit, which some of them are good, some of them are impractical as fuck, but what can you do? It's fucking anime, so fuck it. Anyway, we get to see that, and then what they're basically doing is that there are 2 teams for each building. 2 students act as the villains, 2 act as the heroes. The villains are guarding this fake bomb thing at each section of whatever building that they are in. The heroes have to go to the building before the time limit or before they're incapacitated, and they have to basically touch the bomb so that they would win. At least the heroes would.
Yeah, I think I like about this segment is it sort of gives them like practical training and sort of teaches them, I guess, teamwork, which I think is I think it's a very valuable lesson. Like, despite my problems with the show, I would say that like some of the lessons they learn from the actual school is actually practical. And I would say this is one example of one of those practical lessons that they can actually like if they become like pro heroes, these are definitely lessons that they'll need to master quickly. And you can talk about episode 7 as well, because that's pretty important as well. You can do it because you're better at words than I am.
I wouldn't say that, but I mean, it's all the same episode. It takes place with all the same encounters. It's basically the big fight between Deku and Bakugo. Deku and Uraraka from the fourth episode that we see are the hero side of this little exercise. And of course, Bakugo and this other guy, Ito, who I will be referring to as Serious Sanic for this entire review. And you can't stop me. Overview, sorry.
And I won't stop you. You can say whatever you want, because I don't care.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, by the way, Ida is going to be somewhat important later, so, keep that in mind. They're basically acting as the villains in this exercise. Of course, Bakugo being Bakugo, he's going to confront Deku because he's kind of pissed that this kid who he's been bullying this entire time actually does have a quirk, and he sees that he's been fucking with him or something. So he's going to try to throw hands with him. Deku fights him while Uraraka goes after the fake bomb and Ida. So they have their big fight. And one thing I can say is that the fight is mostly good. There's some good choreography. Deku pulls some pretty quick thinking when it came to Bakugo's tendency to like fling his right arm. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, I think it showcases his intelligence and his quickness to action. Like we said before, he's very Deku is very decisive. Like it's just like in that split second, he's like, "This is the action I need to take immediately. Whether or not it has consequences, we'll find out later. I'll just wing it." Like that's basically Deku's intelligence in a nutshell. Like he's above average in intelligence, but he's got a lot of wits about him.
Yeah. Although it's kind of weird that he has that quick of a reaction speed when he's never actively fought or been in that kind of situation before.
Yeah, that's kind of a little odd, but I'm just gonna chalk it down to like his intelligence is more like wit than actual like scholarly stuff. A thing I dislike about it, one thing I really like about the episode is we see Bakugo just freaking out and he's like busting down doors and making a lot of noise. And like the thing about Bakugo is I don't really understand him. He wants to be this hero or something like that, but he kind of acts more like a villain. Like he's not really hero material.
Yeah, because, he has a really good quirk, he has a really good power, and people around him have been hyping him up, so he tends to start believing it. And because of it, he develops a sort of inferiority complex, and he wants to be the best and all that other jazz. So when he sees Deku, who is, stepping up to his plate, he isn't really cool with that.
I think it's more like bravado. Like he realizes that despite all his bark, he cannot bite.
I mean, he can bite, but he ain't biting like he does. He's arrogant, but I think his whole development throughout the show is that he needs to be arrogant in the right ways. He needs to welcome challenge rather than, think that everything is going to be handed to him and that he can yell and scream and it can all go away. Like, no, he has to actively deal with the situations. Begrudgingly, yes, but he actually needs to do that.
Yeah, as you become stronger and as a hero, the challenges are going to be greater. And what's more satisfying than overcoming those challenges and proving that you are the best?
Yeah. But anyway,
instead of busting down doors and making down noise, which in a real situation isn't really handy because you're telling the villains or the bad guys where you are by making all that noise so they can ambush you.
Yeah. Anyways, one issue that I do have with this fight, we're talking about in both episode 6 and 7.
Yeah, we'll just say for the record that for this particular part, we're just covering episode 6 and 7, so it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Anyways, the one problem I do have with this fight is that there's way too many flashbacks and it kind of wrecks the momentum of the fight, because I think they show 3 flashbacks during the entire fight, and I feel like it would have been much better if it at least just kept one and then just have all the actions and expressions that the characters make just speak for themselves, because this just comes off the show shoving way too much down your throat so that you can get more invested in what's going on, but we're already invested enough, right?
Yeah. Should we do episode 7 now? I mean episode 8?
No, we're not done with episode 7 yet.
Okay.
At the end of the fight, basically, when Deku and Bakugo have their final clash, Deku basically pulls this winning strategy by punching the air so hard that it basically creates air pressure and destroys all the ceilings. And then Uraraka uses her zero gravity powers in order to jump in to touch the fate bomb, and then they win the challenge. And then we see all the other students doing their challenges, and that's basically the end of that. But one issue I do have with it is that during the fight between them, All Might was All Might was supervising this whole event, by the way. He was saying during the fight that Bakugo should stop recklessly using his powers to destroy the building. And yet Deku, in order to win the whole challenge, he recklessly destroyed the building and he barely got any shit for it, which is weird. Whatever.
Because he's All Might's favorite pupil.
Oh, yeah, and this is totally not going to be incriminating evidence against him at all.
Yeah, exactly. Bend the rules as you seek, which honestly we're going to be talking about in season 2 because that immediately contradicts itself later on. But you know, we'll get to that part when we get to it. So so basically for episode 8, they showcase some of the other heroes doing this teams like Todoroki and the Tail Dude. We see a lot of teaming and villains. It's kind of cool, just showcasing more of their powers. Teachers are watching. They talk about how some of the characters are reckless and stuff like that. Then main character Deku wakes up along with Explosion Guy. They sort of have a moment. Explosion Guy is acting like an arrogant prick, and All Might sort of talks to him. I forgot what that conversation was, but I think it was more like, calm the hell down, dude.
Oh, I remember. Deku was basically told him that he got his powers from someone else, and that kind of wrecks Bakugo's ego even more. And then after that, All Might comes in to try to calm him down, but then he walks off like a prick as usual. And the episode ends on that note. But here's the thing, though. I don't have an issue with Bakugo's character. In fact, I think he's one of the better characters in the show overall. But my issue is with his relationship with Deku, because Deku, I understand that he admires Bakugo because of his quirk and everything, and that he also wants to overcome his fear of him, but we don't really see much of him overcoming that throughout the show. He's still going to act like a scared little pansy, which I'm not saying that that whole scarring, throughout his life should be immediately
retconned.
Retcon ever since he got his powers, but there doesn't really feel like there's any sort of progression in how they interact in their relationship, even though there are milestones.
Also, their relationship reminds me of like a domestic abusive relationship. Like Deku is like the whammon and Bakugo is like the abusive drunk who beats his wife.
Yeah, it's basically Stockholm syndrome. That's what their relationship is.
Oh, that is so screwed. Okay, so they have their moment in episode 9. Your turn.
Yeah. So, that's the end of the episode. Let's get to episode 9. Oh, wait, no, this isn't episode 9. It's episode 8. Fuck. Well, we fucked up. Anyway.
No, it is episode 8. We're up to episode 9 now.
No, we didn't talk about... okay. Well, okay. Right. God damn, that was kind of quick. Anyways, episode 9. Wait, hold on a sec. Let me look it over. Okay, so this is kind of a filler-ish episode where we put some focus towards one of the characters who was introduced early in the show, Ito, or as I call him, Serious Sanic, because he's super serious to an obnoxious degree, and he runs fast like Sanic. He even has blue hair, so kind of obvious. Although he is voiced by J. Michael Tatum in the dub, so I'm going to give him some respect for that.
Hell yeah.
I love me some Steins Gate. Anyways, apparently the class is electing a representative because, high schools always have to have class representatives and shit. And so Ida was chosen as the main representative because he's super serious about everything, that he always flings his arms in like a weird ass way. And in the show pretends that this whole thing is funny, but it's not.
It's kind of cringy.
Exactly. The show fails at humor almost every single time. And anyway, wait, I fucked up. Deku was chosen as class representative at first, and then this another girl in the class. And the object for many watchers' wet dreams, Momo Yayorzu, who is basically this busty chick who can create anything from her body, is the deputy representative. So whatever. After that, yeah, after that whole scene, we cut to them during lunchtime, and Ida talks about a little bit about his family of prestigious heroes, including his brother Tensei, who we will be seeing a little bit of later. This will come into play, so keep that shit in mind. So yeah, we get a little bit of that, and this I guess allows us to see that Tenya is really motivated to uphold his family honor in the family business and all that shit.
Which is actually quite a heavy concept in Japan. Like, a lot of people say that this series takes a lot of like American influences, but I'd also say that culturally some of the characters take on a lot of like Japanese, quote unquote Japanese ideals, like the family honor or keeping into the family business. I mean, if you know a lot of Japanese people, I mean, some of them, like, for example, there's some Japanese family who have maintained the exact same business for generations. Like, for example, their father was a farmer, their father before them was a farmer, stuff like that. And it's kind of like a very sort of traditionalist. I wouldn't say it's inherently Japanese, but the Japanese are very, that's quite ingrained into their culture because they're incredibly collectivist.
Yeah. So anyway, after that whole discussion, they get interrupted because the school alarms were blowing up. They were blaring up because a bunch of news reporters at the front of the school were trying to get some insight as to who the students are and what they're doing. All right, two problems with this. Why are they trying to get the kids' identities? Because wouldn't they want to keep that shit secret so that no villains would try to, I don't know, rape their moms while they're not home or something like that?
Or kill them, but we can't have actual consequences. And another thing I think you forgot to mention is that someone like melted the front gate.
Oh yeah. Who that person is, we don't really know. So whatever. Anyway, the alarms were going off. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's just running around and clogging up the whole place. No one can get anywhere. And then Ida takes charge of the situation and directs everybody into a single file, and
sort of showcases his leadership abilities. Like, he's just saying, do this, do that, kind of showcasing his abilities. And if I remember correctly, after like they solve like the thing and shit like that, they decide to do like the training, the exercise, which we will bunch up what happens after that. We'll bunch up episodes. We'll bunch up episodes 12 to 13 because it's basically the same sequence of events.
So basically after that whole debacle, Ida becomes the class representative. So yay, I guess.
Showcasing his leadership skills. So after that, they start the training exercise, but a very, very special thing happens after the beginning of their training exercises. A black portal comes out of nowhere, and almost freakishly mutated people jump out of it. And guess what? It's villains! Ooh, dun, tension! Dun, dun. Tension! Who's gonna die first? Ooh.
Oh, this is gonna get crazy. We're going to
this is where the real deconstruction happens. They're gonna kill off half the class.
What? Yeah, you think that's what would happen, but there's a reason why I would call the Legion of Villains. That's what they're basically called in the show, the League of Villains, the Legion of Dipshits. It's because they're so fucking bad at their goddamn job, even when it's so fucking simple.
Okay, so basically, I'll just do the first part. So basically what happens is Eraserhead Sensei, he sees what's going on, he's like, kids, back away, I'm going to take care of it, and he just wrecks house. Can I just say that the fight scene with Eraserhead taking on all those villains was pretty cool? Like, he's jumping, he's kicking, he's doing flips, he's tying them with bandages, he's activating his power, his hair starts going like Super Saiyan, and there's like all the other students get like separated and they're getting like hunted down by the other villains, and they all obviously wreck them because, so much tension. These villains are so intimidating that they get beaten up by 15-year-old kids.
I know, right? It's such an exciting battle. This is really putting me on the edge of my seat, you know. So much on the edge of my seat that I think I might fall asleep on the fucking floor.
Yeah, what really put me on the edge of my seat is when Eraserhead got grabbed by one of those Nomu things, which we'll definitely talk about more later when we get to season 2. But I like the part where he gets his face smashed into the ground and his arms like broken. He's trying to get away, and then that other dude with like the hands that can disintegrate people is like slowly putting his hand on this dude's face. Oh no, wait, no, I forgot. The disintegration dude, he figures out is like, oh, Eraserhead, your quirk is slowing down. Because we learned that Eraserhead, he can't do that power negation thing for too long at a time. And
right, he needs to keep his eyes open, like literally keep his eyes open in order to keep using that power. By the way, the disintegrating hand guy is our resident serial killer and main villain for most of the show, Shigaraki Tomura.
I'm just gonna call him Handsman, and he has so much depth. He just wants to destroy things for the lols. So deep.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that definitely.
He's so deep. But anyway, basically, Handsman gets involved. The Nomu basically like breaks Eraserhead, basically breaks his arm and head. Hands dude like melts half his arm off with his disintegration powers, which are totally not overpowered, by the way. He could just turn things to dust, but, you know, we'll discuss more about serial killer Handsman later.
I mean, then again, it's fine that his power is somewhat overpowered because, understandably, you want your villains to be somewhat challenging in your story. But then again, most of the villains that the kids are fighting during this whole debacle aren't having all that much of a challenge at all. So
yeah, they're just fighting a bunch of grunts. So the grunts aren't an issue. Like even the high school their asses. And the only villain I kind of liked in the series like is the Gate guy. I forgot his ability, but I just like him. He's really cool.
Oh, Kurogiri. Yeah,
Kurogiri. I love that dude. He's my favorite.
I mean, but he barely has all that much personality, though. Like, the only thing that characterizes him is that he's calm and collected, and he basically is the only one who can one of the only people who can rein in Handsman over here, because
he's got 2 character traits so deep.
Yeah, he's basically a man-child. You know, Handsman is basically a man-child who wants to kill people. A man-child
serial killer. He's got 3 traits, even more deeper.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, Kurogiri barely has all that much of a character, but if you like him, it's like, okay. I mean, he's not
Kurogiri. He looks cool.
He's not annoying, so I'll give you that.
All right, so basically, Eraserhead's getting his ass kicked. All the fodder villains are getting their asses kicked. Deku manages to get on the scene, and this is when Deku fights the Handsman. Nearly gets the crap beaten out of him. And guess who? That's right. We forgot the other hero, the other pro hero that was with them, is also badly injured as well of the villain attack. And basically, as Deku is about to die, guess who jumps in? All Might.
Oh yeah. Yeah, All Might has stepped up to the plate, and he is not happy.
Yeah,
and this leads to what the best fight, and at the same time, stupidest fight in the entire goddamn show. And it's basically a freaking slugfest between him and Nomu. But before that whole thing starts, let's get back to Shiggy for a minute, right? Because before the fight happens, you know how it is. The big hero and big villain monologue and dialogue they have between each other. And like Shigaraki says all this pseudo intellectual type shit about how people are relying so much on heroes, but the heroes are like registered weapons of mass destruction who can basically kill anyone who they want, and it will be okay because it's for the sake of justice and all this other type of shit.
The funny thing is that Handsman is also killing people whenever he wants, so what's the problem?
Yeah, and also the minute he said that, All Might basically says that, nigga, you basically doing all this shit for for shits and gigs, man. And then we cut back to Hands Man having a mental monologue, and he says, "Oh shit, he found me out." Wow, such a deep, understanding character, right, guys?
Exactly. It's just like basically his character is, I like causing destruction for the lols, and I'm trying to back it up with some sort of like pseudo intellectualism bullshit, but it doesn't work. Because even All Might can see through my crap.
Yeah, and then it's like I understand that they're trying to go for a discount Joker type deal. Every fucking anime like this tries to have a discount Joker.
Why so serious?
Yeah, but the problem is that number one, you need to make your discount Joker, funny, and Shigi isn't funny, and number two, you need to have their pseudo-intellectual BS make sense. But this shit doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because he's doing the exact same thing for the lols. Like, you can do it for justice, you can do it for the lols, but it doesn't matter because he's doing it for the exact same justification. He's doing it just because he can.
Yeah, just because they're insane characters doesn't mean there shouldn't be some kind of method behind the madness. And they're going to retcon something in order to give him some method behind his madness, but we'll get to that shit later.
Yeah, we'll get to a lot of stuff later. So basically sort of season 1 ends with this big fight, which I really liked with the Nomu. They're exchanging blows, kind of like JoJo Bizarre Adventure, when Star Platinum versus the World is like, they're doing like yeah, exactly, man. That was a pretty good fight. Things go back. Basically, what happens after that fight is more reinforcement shows up. The cavalry shows up. They wreck the rest of the villains that the other high school kids were having trouble with. Nomu gets arrested. Hands Guy and Shadow Dude just go away, and everything goes back to normal. No one cares. No one cares about the massive breach of security and how like a bunch of villains just like teleported in to the school grounds.
Oh yeah, and by the way, one other thing is that remember Eraserhead, who basically got his head crushed by the freaking abomination from the Incredible Hulk? Yeah, he's still alive, apparently.
So much tension.
I know, right? It's so much tension. You can basically cut it with a knife.
Yeah, gets his arm nearly melted off, gets his skull cracked. Oh no, he's fine.
Right. And then like, how in the world did they even find out if the villains can find out where they are going to be in order they're going for their exercise? Why didn't they teleport to the main school? Because everyone knows where UA is. And there doesn't seem to be any defenses against teleporting people in it, right?
I think they were trying to kill All Might while he was isolated, because if I remember correctly, they're like somewhere like in the school grounds that's like far away from the main building. So I think their idea is that we're going to kill All Might and the rest of these students, and by the time that people figure out something is wrong, they're already going to be dead. And essentially, we can just do this again next time. And if I remember correctly, I think Serious Sam, like, he was a messenger. Like, he carried the other hero that was injured with him to get, like, some reinforcements from the faculty who showed up to wreck the rest of the villains. But, it's just, like, I kind of wish that, like, Eraserhead was either, like, dead or, in a coma. Like, he's in a coma for, like, a few months.
Yeah, because technically speaking, his shit is overpowered. Here's the thing. Eraserhead is basically freaking Daredevil or Batman if he has the power to basically negate anyone else's superpower. If he lose the dumb scarves or whatever and actually has like knives or guns and shit, because heroes can use guns in this world. One of the reinforcements is actually a hero who uses guns, and later we meet a guy who's basically named Gunhead. So if he had that shit, he'd be basically unstoppable. No one can touch him.
Especially with one of the other villains we'll talk about later on. So,
anyways, like, another thing about the Nomu versus All Might fight, I did like the fight visually, but it's kind of dumb seeing as how, the show tries to pay so much attention to, having tactics and strategies and thinking your way through the situation.
Yeah, when All Might's strategy was basically like, oh, that's right, we forgot what the Nomu's abilities are. Like, the Nomu's abilities was healing and shock absorption. So basically, like, All Might thinks was like, I'm going to punch him so hard that eventually his shock absorption will eventually cancel out. Like, that's basically his strategy. I'm going to punch this guy so hard.
Right.
That's strategy, man. It's just like, how do I beat this dick? How do I beat this person? I've got it. Punch hard, really good. That's my strategy.
Yeah, as opposed to literally punching his exposed brain on the top of his head. What the fuck, dude?
Well, yeah. Also, the thing about the Nomu is he has 2 quirks. How is that possible?
We'll find out later.
Yes, we will. Okay, so Kaiser Shounen, ending thoughts on Boku no Hero Season 1?
Okay, Season 1. Now, Season 1 holds a lot of the same pros and cons of pretty much the entire show up to this point. Now, but before I get to that, let's get to some positives, right? Of course, the art when it comes to the Bone Staff is really well done. What little choreography there is in fights is really good. A little bit muddled in some places, but still, there are a couple of character moments, like when Izuku used a percentage of his power in his finger in order to achieve that goal. Was pretty clever, if I do say so myself. As dumb as the final fight in this season was, by God, is it cathartic, at least in a manner that it's like, it's just 2 dudes punching each other. Like, I can always get off to that. That it looks cool, even if it was kind of dumb and kind of goes against what the series is about when it comes to strategy and shit.
Yeah, the series is no JoJo in that regard.
I mean, yeah, that goes without saying, but But anyways, there are a couple characters I like. I like All Might for the most part. I like Aizawa, at least at this point in the show. But now here's my freaking problem. Here's where the main problems of the show stem. And it goes beyond just plot conveniences and the coincidences that come in, and the fact that so many of the characters are seriously bland, and the unfunny jokes, the bland and unfunny jokes that are in the show, the lack of organic interactions between characters. The main problem with the series stems from a more fundamental place than that. Whenever a show is like either good or bad, you can always see where it is on the scale. There's a spectrum of 5s, there's a spectrum of 6s, a 7s, etc. But Boku no Hero's main issue, in my eyes, is that it's so middle of the road. It is always on a balanced scale where it's not always too good, but not too bad either. So every single thing that it does, every positive that it has, it immediately undercuts it just enough to make it still be so balanced in that scale. And that, to me, is so frustrating about it, because I know that the series can easily do so many things to make it so much more interesting for me to give a shit about the characters and what's going on. But every single time I try to, it does so little with what it has. It's an enjoyable shonen, yes, but it's nothing groundbreaking. It doesn't do anything different. It doesn't do anything, all that clever. Almost none of the characters at this point are all that enjoyable to make whatever development they get later on seem more organic at all. It's just so basic. It is a basic bitch shonen. It's that in the most frustrating way possible. So overall, I think you know my score for it already. It is a solid 5 out of 10. You can enjoy the show. I won't fault you for it, and it's far from the worst thing possible. But don't you ever say that this is anything more or less than what it is. That's my ending thoughts.
My ending thoughts on the first season is very similar to you. Like, I agree with most of your points, and I think the general problem with like Boku no Hero is that it's above average mediocrity that is overhyped, and I think the hype really kills it, because and I'm not faulting the show for it, because when I hear all this hype, I expect more. It sort of sets up a standard, and it does not meet that standard, and it comes off very disappointing. Like, it is enjoyable, but I do not believe that it is what the hype says it is. Like, yes, there are some good moments, there are some bad moments, but for some reason it balances itself out like yin and yang, and that's not exactly what constitutes a good show.
Exactly. It's harder to define how it's supposed to be, how you can critically judge it, because it's so middle of the road. You can't give it so little, but yet not too much credit. You're always walking on eggshells, really determining what it does and how it does it. And that's something you should almost never have in any show.
Yeah, like a good show, like an actual decent quality show, will have good and bad things. Like, for example, you read my review of Zeta Gundam. I said a lot of good things about that series, but I also said quite a few bad things about that series that really hampers my, enjoyment or the quality of the series. And, Boku no Hero, it's just like, there's so much it could damn do. And, season 1 is like a beginning introduction. It's not bad. Like, maybe it will develop, maybe it won't, we don't know. But as far as, like, season 1 is concerned, this is just bottom of the barrel average.
And pretty much, this is just a present for what the series has in store. And as an intro to the series at large, it does a decent job at setting up the world and the characters, at least somewhat, but not in any sort of nuanced or subtle way. At least not that I can find.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, okay, so that those are our ending thoughts on season 1, and we'll be and stay tuned for season 2 overview, where we rip it apart even some more. This is Bio Gundam signing off, and Kaiser, do your thing.
Yep, this is Kaiser Shounen signing off, and I'll catch you guys later.
Yes, join us for season 2 and possibly season 3, if we actually live that long. But who cares? All right.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 is nearing completion, so I think I can live a little longer.
Fuck me.
Skillfully subverts our expectations.
Kohei Horikoshi pulled together a masterpiece.
Many aspects that we haven't seen anywhere before. Give me the fills. Like, so many fills.
Has become the new golden standard for battle shonen.
You can see how superior they are in design, dialogue, and personality. Them proportions. Oh my god!
The idea of quirks is interesting and something new that we haven't seen in anime.
Full of overflowing plot, massive character development, huge themes, very enriched backstory.
My Hero Academia isn't your conventional hero story.
I don't like reading. It had some of the best writing I've ever seen.
Make sure to get yourself a box of tissues, and make sure your door is locked too. You don't want no one coming in.
Spider-Man is similar to Deku's character.
This series breaks the genre's mold.